Check your sound. How's my sound now? We good? Can somebody tell me if my sound is good? Can somebody tell me no sound? Can you hear me? No? Good now? Oh, here I am pouring my heart out to y'all, apologizing. I was basically saying I apologize for the mishap. As soon as I started the show, I saw on my phone somebody was at my door. So I had to go around and see who it was and the whole bit, and y'all know how that is. Being the only man in the house. I'm not sure if y'all have it. If y'all established that in your house, where if we're home and you're the only man in the house, the women don't answer the door. I'm not sure, but that's just a man thing. Maybe it's a Professor Griff thing. Maybe it's a security thing. I don't know what it is, but yeah. Anyway. All right. Thank y'all for being patient with me. I really appreciate that. All right. Don't worry about this. 7 minutes. I'm gonna make up to y'all some kind of way, somehow. I'm not sure. But in these kind of situations, you want to be consistent. You want to come on time. You want to have at least a kind of subject kind of lined up. But the subject that I did have lined up was a short history of the voting rights. And having a few people have having conversations with a few people, and a few people texting me some things, I've come to the conclusion that we're just not educated about the whole idea of the voting process. Thinking that if we talked about it on several shows, most people would go out and do the research, but I'm finding that they're not. I'm not going to do the research for you, but I could kind of tell you where to go look. All right. In the meantime, between time, thanks everyone for joining me. Shout out to Quan. Really appreciate you, Quan, for taking your time out during your busy schedule for the few minutes that we're going to be on today. We have people checking in from South Jamaica, Queens. All right. All right. Of course, Quan checking in from Dallas, Texas, by way of Louisiana. Okay. So hold on for a second. Let me see if. Yeah. All right. Respect from Chicago. The Shy checking in. All right. Southwest Detroit. The D. All right. Yeah, I got a special kind of relationship with Detroit. I'm always in Detroit every year. Austin, Texas. Baltimore checking in. Spokane, Washington. I was up there in Spokane. Fort Worth, Texas. All right. Myrtle Beach checking in. Yeah, I spent some writing time in Myrtle Beach and Hilton Head. Salute to Quan. All right, we'll start this show in a few minutes. As y'all see, I'm just trying to get notes together here. All right, so we're going to start it off. I'm going to play this clip, and then we're going to Cleveland, Ohio. That's right, Tina Ray, you in Ohio. Richmond, Virginia. Anderson, Indiana. Clear Vision Media, I love you to life, man, but Indiana, whoo. Peace to you, Professor Griff from Roosevelt, Long Island. Shout out to Roosevelt, LI, the stomping ground. All right. Anyway, let's dive into this real quick. Let me see. Let me see if this is the right one. I hope it is the right one. All right, family, let's talk. Let me play this clip so everyone can actually get on the same page, and then we can kind of move forward from there, if that's all right with everyone. Let's talk.
Welcome to the Pursuit of History. On this episode, we'll be discussing the history of voting rights. Casting a vote for local, state, and federal officials is an important civic responsibility in America. It's an opportunity to have your voice be heard and to engage with members of your community in the democratic process. For American citizens, the chance to vote begins at 18, but that wasn't always the case.
All right. First off, she said the democratic process. Let me ask the individuals that are out there. Are we living in a democracy or republic? Just to locate Guy. Guy, we got to get up, bro. Get that vegan meal and do some laps. Shadow boxing or something. You know what I'm saying? We got to make it happen. All right. Do we live in a democracy or a republic? Thank you very much, Chef Shannon. We live in a republic. Why do they keep calling it a democracy? Please, someone, while I go get my pen, can y'all explain that to yourself so y'all can explain that to me? Why do they keep calling it? Hold on. Why do they keep calling it a democracy if we're supposed to live in a republic? Why do they call it a democracy if we're supposed to be living in a republic? All right, that's the first question. Why democracy? Hold on. Let me get a new piece of paper. I'm one of them note-taking guys. I still use pen and paper. Why a democracy? All right. Why a democracy? Let's go.
In the early years of America, only a small percentage of people were allowed to vote. Nope. No, keep going. Keep going. Almost there. Okay, stop. At the founding of America, only adult, white, landowning men were allowed to vote.
Adult, white, landowning men were the only ones that were allowed to vote. Not women, not Native Americans who were already here, not black Native Americans that was already here, not Moors, not indigenous people, no one. Not Africans that were already here, no one. Adult, white, land-owning men. You mean to tell me you steal the land from the Native Americans and the black people that were already here? And then you turn around and you construct and you put together laws that would exclude us from participating in a system that you set up, and you stack the deck. Help me understand this, please, people. Anyway, let's move on.
Not surprisingly, the people making the decisions in the early days of America were, you guessed it, white male landowners. While they wanted to ensure that the power of government came from the people, they struggled with determining exactly who qualified as the people.
Next question. When they said we the people, who are they talking about? If only adult white land-owning men were the only ones allowed to vote. All right. And where are these white adult male landowning people from? They're not indigenous to America. So where are they from? And then this wasn't their land. So if they came in and took the land from the people, and like I said, they set these laws up, then yeah, they stacked the deck. Here we go.
As James Madison said, allow the right to vote exclusively to property owners, and the rights of persons may be oppressed. Extend it equally to all, and the rights of property owners may be overruled by a majority without property. It was quite the early conundrum. They ultimately decided to leave the decision up to individual states.
All right, so they put the responsibility and the duty on to individual states. So now each state had to determine whether or not they were going to allow any and everyone else to participate in the voting process, which determined everything in America.
Some states dropped the property requirement over time, but the pool of voters was still limited to adult white men until 1870, with the passing of the 15th Amendment.
Can you please look that up, people? We're in class today with your brother, Professor Griff. The 15th Amendment. What is the 15th Amendment? Can someone talk to me about the 15th Amendment? And what are you amending? All right. What are you amending? All right. What is the 15th Amendment? You're getting ahead of me, Quan. What is the 15th Amendment? I know you're a woman, and it's important for the 19th Amendment to be established, which allowed women, mainly white women, to vote in 1920. Got you, Quan. We're only on the 15th Amendment, though. All right? We didn't even get to women, Native Americans, indigenous people. I guess the Moors could say the Moors, black people from Africa, whatever, how you want to put it.
5 years after the Civil War ended, the 15th Amendment was added to the U.S. Constitution. With it, African American men gained the right to vote.
The right of the citizens of the United States to vote shall not be denied or abridged by the United States. Damn. So the right of citizens. So did they consider black people a citizen at that particular time, dealing with the 15th Amendment? And it shall not be denied or abridged by the United States or by any state or account on the account of race, color, or previous condition of servitude. Something fishy is going on here. Anyway, let's back it up a little. Let's dive back into it.
With it, African American men gained the right to vote. On March 31st, 1870, a man named Thomas Mundy Peterson became the first black person to cast a vote in a local election in New Jersey. Unfortunately, states still found ways to limit African American men's right to vote through literacy tests, poll taxes, intimidation tactics, and grandfather clauses.
Literacy tests. Being kidnapped and brought to America and enslaved. Would the grandfather clause include you? And now, how long do you have to wait for your grandfather's father's father to be recognized as quote unquote free in order for you to vote? Not only that, intimidation tactics. How do you think they intimidated black people? How do you think they intimidated black people? All right. How do you think they intimidated black people in order for black people to get to the polls to vote? And then the poll tax. What is the poll tax? What is it that you have to pay? Can you imagine having to go down to the polls and pay? And pay in order to vote.
Grandfather clauses stated that African American men could only vote if their grandfather had voted. This limited the vote for many men who had enslaved ancestors. The clauses weren't declared unconstitutional by the Supreme Court until 1915. Likewise, poll taxes and literacy tests in the South became voting barriers. In Mississippi, for example, voting and literacy tests in the South.
Literacy tests. What is a right guaranteed by the Bill of Rights? Number 2, true or false? The federal census of the population is taken every 5 years. 3, if a person is indicted for a crime, name 2 rights which he has. Hell, we can't answer these goddamn questions. Excuse me. We can't answer these questions today. Hold on, I gotta screenshot that. All right, let's continue.
Became voting barriers. In Mississippi, for example, voters were required to pay a special tax for 2 years before being allowed to cast a vote. If you couldn't afford to pay the poll tax, you couldn't vote. States also issued literacy tests filled with complicated questions designed to severely limit the African American vote. The 1900s brought a wave of changes. In 1920, a new group of American citizens gained the right to vote: women. The ratification of the 19th Amendment was a great victory for the supporters of women's suffrage. 4 years later, in 1924, the Indian Citizenship Act finally gave American Indians the right to vote. Remember the poll taxes and literacy? The right to vote.
Wait a minute. So y'all mean to tell me if black people are the original Native Americans to this particular land, and way before the $5 Indian, I'm confused, as y'all can tell. Like, how is this working out? The Indian Citizenship Act. So they made the $5 Indian a citizen and not the black indigenous people that were the Native Americans in America. Denied them, but the $5 Indian gets the right to vote under the Indian Citizenship Act. Help me out, fam. Come on.
Remember the poll taxes and literacy tests we talked about a few moments ago? In the 1950s and 60s, civil rights groups began making progress towards breaking down those barriers. In 1964, the 24th Amendment was passed, making poll taxes illegal. That same year, the Civil Rights Act was passed. It forbid discrimination based on religion, race, gender, or national origin. In 1965, the Voting Rights Act followed.
The Voting Rights Act of 1964 ended up being passed in 1965. Okay, all right.
Forbid anyone from denying the right to vote to citizens based on their race. Another historic event happened in 1965. President Johnson made the decision to send military forces into Vietnam. In the years that followed, support for the Vietnam War waned. Simultaneously, a new fight was emerging on the home front. The fight for the right to vote for young Americans. Armed with a call to action from the 1940s, old enough to fight, old enough to vote.
So if you're old enough to fight and get sent to Vietnam to lose your life, lose a limb, you're fighting for a democracy, which was supposed to be a republic. But if you're old enough to fight, then you're old enough to vote, but they didn't allow you to vote. Y'all better rethink this voting thing.
Became their rallying cry. In 1970, the 26th Amendment was passed, extending the right to vote to all U.S. citizens of age 18 and over. In 1990, the Americans with Disabilities Act became a law. It works to protect the right to vote for people with disabilities by requiring polling locations be accessible to all. In the years that have followed, Americans are still debating issues about voting rights. From the voting rights of convicted felons, to lowering the voting age to 16, and even establishing Election Day as a national holiday, people understand the importance of the right to vote and fight every single day to ensure that this right is safely secured in American democracy.
Wow. Okay. An American democracy, which is supposed to be a republic. All right. We're going to chop some things up, but what is your take on that, fam? Tina Ray says Cherokee, Choctaw, Chickasaw, Creek, Muskogee, Seminole were considered civilized by white Americans. So white people ravaging, raping, murdering, stealing, all right, and taking the land of Native Americans. But only some tribes were considered civilized because all white people determined that Native Americans were savages. Okay. Voting Rights Act. Yeah, hold on. Let me put that on the screen, Tina. Thank you. Dion Carnes, peace. Peace, Miss Dion Carnes. Thank you, Enemy Public. Enemy Public says, being a $5 Indian tied them to the land, which was the criteria for the right to vote. These people, to this day, he never finished the sentence, so I don't know what he meant. Clear Vision Media said there was 500 nations here before the white man got here. Professor Gypsy Star says it's all a scam. Clear Vision said land grab. Thank you very much, Quan. Really appreciate you. All right. Let's dive into one more clip, and then we can piece that apart, and then we can continue to dive into the subject matter, which we're talking about a short history of the voting rights in America. Voting rights milestones in America, a short timeline since America's founding days when voting was limited to white male property owners to transformative Voting Rights Act of 1965 to sweeping voting process reform introduced in the early 2000s. The right to vote in the United States election has been a massive change, but the same people who originally were allowed to vote are still running it, because this is a question, please answer this for me. When did they introduce the electoral college process into the voting scheme of things? Excuse me, Freudian slip. Okay. All right. The door up L says, when have we had 100% participation in voting? Question. Racism is a political creation. 100% voting is our way to fight it. Racism is a political creation. 100% voting is whose way to fight it? No, you're not going to use the same mechanism that the man set up to protect himself from you deciding who runs his corporation. Yeah, you're not going to vote your way to freedom. That's just not going to happen. I don't know what. Yeah, maybe I'm reading it wrong. That is why they have spent trillions of dollars to limit our voting capacity. Door FL, I think you're absolutely incorrect. That's just not. But that's your opinion. You ain't going to vote your way to freedom. That's just not going to happen. We have democratic elected individuals and leaders throughout the world, whom America have interfered in their voting and assassinated them and destabilized their government and installed leaders. So the democratic, quote unquote, democratic process of electing someone never worked. Never, ever worked. All right. Yeah, that's confusing. That's just, nah. If you think you're going to vote your way to some freedom, no, that's just not going to happen. That's not going to happen. Not today. All right, 15th Amendment. Let's talk about it. All right. Let's talk about it, fam.
Of the 15th Amendment in 1870 that protected citizens' right to vote based on race and previous condition of servitude, things like poll taxes, literacy tests, and the grandfather clause were still allowed due to the Supreme Court's poor interpretation of the amendment. In United States v. Reese, William Garner, an African American, was denied the right to vote by two election inspectors by the name of Hiram Reese and Matthew Fauci. Reese and Fauci said that Garner refused to pay the poll tax, but in reality, Garner tried to pay the tax but was refused by the tax collector. When this case eventually went to the Supreme Court, they determined that the language of the Enforcement Act of 1870 was too broad, and that the 15th Amendment did not ban things like poll taxes and literacy tests. Over the decades, civil rights activists advocated against racial discrimination such as segregation, voter suppression laws, etc. The civil rights movement started to see major victories starting in the 1950s when the Supreme Court ruled in favor for civil rights with cases like Brown v. Board of Education. In short, after several nonviolent protests and sit-ins, the movement continued to gain national attention. On June 11, 1963, Kennedy proposed the Civil Rights Act of 1963, with no luck of it getting passed in the Rules Committee. In the same year, over 100,000 people marched on Washington to advocate for both civil and economic rights of African Americans. There, Martin Luther King gave his famous "I Have a Dream" speech. Unfortunately, in November the same year, JFK was assassinated. With LBJ now being president and being the former Senate Majority Leader, he was able to get the bill passed in the House and passed in the Senate after a 54-day-long filibuster. The Civil Rights Act of 1964 banned discrimination based on sex and race and helped in the effort of desegregating schools. However, despite the amount of good the Civil Rights Act of 1964 did, it did not stop literacy tests and other means of voter suppression. With
Voter suppression. Please know and understand what these terms mean when they talk about voter suppression. How are they suppressing the vote? That was then, and how are they suppressing the vote now is some of the things that we need to kind of think about. All right, and then I'm still waiting on the answer to my question. When did they introduce this whole idea of the Electoral College? All right.
voter suppression in the South still alive, the civil rights protests continued. After the 1964 elections, the Southern Christian Leadership Conference led by Martin Luther King Jr. and the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee pushed for action from the federal government to protect racial minorities' voting rights. Starting in January 1965, civil rights leaders held demonstrations in Selma, Alabama. Unfortunately, on March 7, 1965, one of the marches were violently interrupted by police. Anywhere between 525 to 600 civil rights marchers walked out of Selma from the southeast on U.S. Highway 80. After the protesters crossed the Edmund Pettus Bridge, they met a wall of state troopers and county posse. John Cloud, the commanding officer, ordered the marchers to return home. Reverend Hosea Williams attempted to talk to the officer, but he made it very clear that there was nothing to discuss. Law enforcement then proceeded to knock many of the demonstrators down and beating them with nightsticks. Tear gas was fired and troopers charged on horseback into the crowd. Americans looked at the event in shock and horror once images of the event got out to the media. 17 of the demonstrators were hospitalized while 50 others were treated for less serious injuries. This horrible event became known as Bloody Sunday. 8 days after the event, President Lyndon Johnson sent a voting rights bill to Congress. Despite some hurdles, the Voting Rights Act of 1965 passed the Senate on May 26th. In the House of Representatives on July 9th. Thanks to the Voting Rights Act of 1965, literacy tests are now banned, and now there can be federal oversight of voter registration in places that have less than 50% of a non-white unregistered voter population. Another part of the bill did allow the U.S. Attorney General to investigate how poll taxes are used in state and local elections. However, poll taxes were banned on the state and local level in 1966. Election minute out.
All right. All right. Give me your take on that. I'm just one of those individuals that I'm curious as to hear what you have to say. Simply because if you start talking about voter suppression and you're talking about the whole, I'm reading right here, it says Supreme Court walks back Voting Rights Act. July 25th, 2013 Voting Rights Act was walked back. So they'll pass it, and then they'll quietly wait for another administration to come in, and they'll walk some of the things that we gained now, they'll walk them back. All right? You talk about some slick demons and devils. All right? So we have to understand and know and understand the process. This is what I keep saying. If we are educated about if we're educated about the process, I am sure Black people will think twice about this whole voting thing, and then having them put billions and trillions of dollars to keep you blind, deaf, and dumb, and to push the candidate that they want to push to the tune of billions of dollars to make you think that there's only two people running for the presidency, leaving out all the other independent parties. Yeah. It's devilish in its conception. He said the Electoral College was introduced in 1787. This was done because due to the illiteracy of the poor white men, the elites didn't trust them to vote in their best interest. So the illiteracy. Now, the poor whites didn't have to take the literacy test. Only black people had to do that. But the poor whites, according to the rich white elites, weren't even smart enough, all right, to vote in the rich white man's best interest. So they could not leave it up to the poor whites, all right, and the illiterate blacks to vote in their favor. So they established the Electoral College to make sure the person that they needed that was going to speak to their interests got in office. Now, let me hold up for a second, fam. Let me stop the music. Let me say this. Someone, I think it was my cousin, I did have a conversation years ago about the whole idea of actually becoming educated about the voting process and knowing and understanding you're not just not voting for the president, but there are a lot of other things that are there that we have to take into consideration. A lot of things on the local level, a lot of appointments, a lot of positions that are on the local level that we need to know and understand. But if you're not involved in local politics, how would you ever know these things? Who's having PC classes, politically correct classes? Who's having politics classes? Who's having these classes on the weekend for young people to get educated about the vote? Can someone please help me out there? Have you ever been to one? I studied this on my own, so I kind of talk in my circles. But have you ever been to one? When is the last time they set up the class for you? If you haven't taken a political science class, if you haven't sat in those circles on the weekend in small groups, and then now those virtual classes that are being held online to educate people about the voting process, when have the black Democrats for Kamala Harris, Kamala, however you want to pronounce her name, when have they ever had the politically science class? When did they have the politics class for young people? When I'm just help me out. I know some young people. I don't know them to take any of these classes. Have you? Because when I ask basic questions, I sure don't get them answered. Help me out, fam. So unless we're educated about the voting process and all the tricks and the deceptiveness and voter suppression and everything that we had to, and the lives that were lost, all right, to get to this point, what are we truly doing? Thank you very much, Sydney Jean. Sydney G said nobody's teaching political science, but they will have you wear t-shirts saying vote or die. Damn shame. That's your man, P. Diddy, Puffy. You see, they use the Beyoncés, they use the Ushers, they use the Eminems, they use the Leonardo DiCaprio. Damn, that sounds like a whole P. Diddy freak off party list right there. Damn. But anyway, they use these individuals to promote the candidate that they want to get in office. All right? And then they'll use movie stars and actors and actresses and entertainers and sports people. And these people that I mentioned ain't never been political. When have you last time you heard Usher saying anything damn political? I'm not ragging on Usher, but I'm just saying I don't know Usher to be political like that. I've never known Beyonce to even talk. I ain't seen her in too many interviews. But when have we ever known her to be crazy in politics instead of crazy in love? Leonardo DiCaprio? Yeah. So all of a sudden now you want to trot these people out in front of us because they have a fan base and they can more than likely have their fan base vote for you. And it's an ignorant fan base. These people are not political. They're fans of these individuals, not because of their politics. They're fans of these individuals because of their star power. The fact that they might like a song or a movie that they've made, or a wig or weave that they wear, or a verse in a song, or a collab or whatever. But these people are not political. So let's understand exactly what we're dealing with. Notice that they don't choose people that are politically astute and awake and aware. All right? They choose people that they know don't know. Name me one thing Beyonce ever said that was political or did. A minute ago, there was a few people talking about prison reform and getting people out of jail and all that other kind of stuff until we figured out that was a scam and a sham. All right? So let's understand this dynamic. Daniel Williams, peace. What's good, bro? What's happening? All right, so in understanding this and trying to get, thank you very much, Quan. Quan wants y'all to go over to www.professorgriff.bandcamp.com and check out the sacred song and video. Thank you, Quan. They are making our celebrities our leadership. No, not gonna happen. Beyonce can't lead me nowhere. Sorry, Usher. No thanks, Eminem. Nah. Nope. I'd like to say right now, give a shout out. Let's give a shout out to Quan. Let's give her a round of applause, thumbs up, peace sign, black power fist, however you got to do it. Thanks, Quan. We really appreciate you for making a sacrifice. All right. The sacrifice that you make to make sure this information gets out. Now, what we need to do now is everybody take that same energy and get this information out. You can repost this or whatever you have to do, but take the information, all right? Do a show of your own, but get the information out to our people. We have to know and understand this voting process, all right, to make better decisions. And as I always say, my job on here is to arm the masses, all right? And we have to begin to arm the masses each and every single day on whatever subject it is. Today is voting. Tomorrow could be police brutality. Tomorrow, the next day after that, it could be the women that are committing suicide in the Sudan. After that, it could be South Africa. What's going on in the African states that declared not only independence years and years ago, but kicking the colonizers out of their country. All right. Whether it's Traore or Molina or whatever leader it is. All right. Either in Burkina Faso or South Africa. All right. We need to stay awake and aware and abreast of what's going on, keeping each other up to date on what's going on. We still call it Mother Africa because it's Mother Africa. Thank you very much, Gina Ray. Malcolm warned us about black celebrities speaking as our leaders or representatives of black people as a whole. All right. These people are entertainers. Malcolm said they're jugglers, clowns. All right. And that's who they are today. I mean, we love them. Why else would we pay $800-900 for a ticket to go see them? But, all right. Why else would we support them? If we love them, but you're not our leaders. And then if you are our leaders, what's your agenda? What are you leading us to? What are you leading us to? What are you leading us in and out of? What are you leading us in and out of? These people are not out. Jinx, what's up, man? Sir Jinx in the building. All right, what are you leading us in and out of? You're not our leaders. All right, that's like them saying, trotting Professor Griff out in front of the Republican or the Democratic Party, saying he's our leader. No, the hell I'm not. No, I educate you and give you some information. We're gonna arm the masses, but I ain't leading you no place. I'm leading you back to yourself so you can master yourself and make clear decisions as a free black person, as a free individual, as a free person as part of the human family. But I ain't leading you no place. I'm not leading you anywhere. And Professor Griff is not your leader. Thank you, Master Lee. You your own leader. What is that, the 19th degree in the alphabet, self-savior? You your savior. Professor Griff is not your leader. Beyonce, Jay-Z, Usher, Eminem, the rest of these people that they trot out in front of you, these not your leader. Come on, stop playing, man. Stop playing. Who is it? Little John in Atlanta and I don't know, Killer Spike and some other people. These people are not your leaders, man. Thank you very much. Elijah Muhammad said, this is the fall of America. When these entertainers and actors and all these people become your leader, that's when you know you're in trouble. Know you're in trouble. I did have one more clip to show you, but I think you get the point now. I need everyone to look up a short history of voting rights. All right. Then those key points that we made, of course, the voting rights of 1865, I need you to look up, and all the events that happened. But look, you could just look up this. Voting rights milestones in America. All right. And then you could go through the timeline. Through the decades, the right to vote in the United States elections has been massive change and expansion. Expanded to do what? All right. A minute ago, a year or 2 years ago, they wouldn't even let us get a bottled water while standing in the voting line. And them lines were long, and you stayed out there for 3, 4, 5 hours in the damn dark. Put it closer, someone said. Hold on. I'm reading it, though. The voting rights milestones in America, a timeline. All right. Can y'all check that out? Let me angle it so you can at least see it. I think that's it. All right. All right. And then for the people on IG, which it might come out backwards on there, voting rights milestones in America, a timeline. Look it up for yourself. Educate yourself in how this process works. All right. Jabril says they don't want the masses to think for themselves. They use politics, the politics of fear. A brother tried to convince us to vote for genocide Kamala, saying we would go back to Jim Crow. Basically, if we don't vote for Kamala, we go back to Jim Crow. Killer Kamala. It's critical. Genocide Kamala. Y'all got all kind of crazy names for this woman. But that's a rap name or something? Somebody said Killer Kamala is a rapper. Okay. Don't know about that. Anyway, thank you very much, Quan. That was simple enough. Voting rights timeline in America. Do your due diligence. Research, fam. Do not leave it up to the YouTube people. Don't leave it up to the Professor Griffs. Don't leave it up to nobody else that's coming on these channels presenting this information. You research it yourself. Somebody, all I published and said, you good? I'm good. Like, Talk to me, All Eye Publishing. All right. Any more questions? Any more comments, fam? You're right, Master Lee. Killer Joe, not Killer Joe, Sloppy Joe. Biden says, if you don't vote for me, you're not black. These people are funny as hell and goofy. Horrible Harris and Wicked Waltz. Definitely a hell no. Damn. Travis Sankofa, that's a whole nother show. Go see Kalanji, all right, about the Cop City thing. Go to Black Power Media Reloaded. Kalanji show, the morning show, and the other shows talk about Cop City. You already know what I think about Cop City. Don't ask me no question like that. I got a feeling that they will release another pandemic, and you would be absolutely correct. Seven Free says, nope, it's a comedy show now because we already understand the tricks and the games now. We understand that BS. People are waking up and they're not going for it anymore. Thank you, Master Lee. We already know Cop City's going to have robots. We talked about that, but if we need to talk about that again, and the Cop City in Atlanta ain't the only Cop City. All right? You're right. Behold the pale horse at its finest. All right, fam. Like Quan said, do your due diligence. Study on your own. So when these subjects come up, you're educated about these things. You're informed. All right. My job here is to bring these things up, have a discussion, bring you into the discussion so we can discuss some things, maybe give you some things, pull some things from you, share it with some other people as we begin and continue to arm the masses. This is Professor Griff. I got to get ready to get out of here. I love you all to life. As always, I love you to life, not to death. All right. November 5th is coming around real quick, fam. On our next show, please do the research and tell me what is this ritual that people go through every 4 years? Why every 4 years, and why November 5th as a date? And why during this particular sun or moon cycle or whatever kind of cycle? I'm not going to give it away, but you tell me, what rituals are they having the masses of the people go through during this particular period? And then why go through the ritual every 4 years? And what has changed? All right, Quan. All right, peace, fam. Shout out to everyone. Please make sure you go to www.professorgriff.bandcamp. Go check out my song, which I'm gonna play right now as we speak, fam. We're gonna check out the video and the song Sacred. All right. We're going to be in certain cities. We're definitely going to be in Capitol Heights, Maryland. Make sure y'all come check us out there on November 16th. All right. Hold on. Let me pull that up. Collective. Hold on. Let's go there. Let's go back. All right. All right. Remember, fam, on the 16th of November, the Soul Own, my band, we will be in Capitol Heights, Maryland. All right, E-Life Restaurant, Everlasting Life Vegan Restaurant, November 16th, 2024, 3 to 8. Soleil is speaking, Professor Griff is speaking, and then band is performing a little bit later on that evening. I want to see y'all in the building. All right. All right. Just to let everyone know, the actual Serious Minds Brain Tonic is now on sale. I'm pouring it today. And it's cheap. You don't have to pay the $33 plus shipping, which might end up being $38, $40 something dollars. Just pay the $27.50, and you can listen. There's only limited amount of brain tonic and resurrection formula. So if you don't jump on it now, all right, Serious Minds Brain Tonic, $27.50. Hit me up. All right, 678-557-2919. All right, text me. We'll give you the link and the code, and you can purchase it along with the resurrection formula. $27.50 flat fee. Make it happen, fam. All right, stay healthy, brothers. Stay healthy. Stay healthy. Stay healthy. All right. Anyway, let's play the video and let's talk. Let's go. Shout out to Rashida. Shout out to Mina Light. Shout out to my man Dane. And this is Professor Griff. Of course, we are the Soul Ohm Collective. All right. Go to YouTube video. Go to Bandcamp right now to support the band, alright? That's ProfessorGriff.bandcamp.com. www.ProfessorGriff.bandcamp.com. There's an instrument called this the flute. We have a drum here. Here is the sound. We have a floor here, the sound, of course. We have here. This rap that's down here. All right. Udu, U-D-U, Udus, from Nigeria. All right. Shout out to my Nigerian brothers and sisters. All right, fam. It's a beautiful thing. All right. All right, it's Professor Griff. I got to get ready to get out of here. Love y'all to life, fam. Check out the Soul Ohm Collective. our song, Sacred. If you want to participate in our next video, which is going to be on November 22nd in Atlanta, just contact me. Come on through. Come be in the video. All right, make it happen. If you're in the ATL, we're going to be at, don't tell me, Life Bistro. All right, we're performing at the Life Bistro. We're shooting a live video. All right, let's make it happen. Shout out to Shane Shakur for editing that video. Does a marvelous, wonderful job each and every time. All right, love y'all to life, fam. Hey, shout out to Vance Vex, man. Vance Vex, man, for mixing it. All right, us finishing that song at Solar Sound Studio. And once again, shout out to the whole Soul Om Collective, Rashida Ali, Lena Light, Ade, and my man Jay Battle, and yours truly, Professor Griff. Peace. Mr. Locate Guy, we got to get up, man. All right? I'll probably have to see you after this Halloween stuff, the spooky ghosts and goblins and all that kind of stuff. So, yeah, we'll talk good, bro. All right. Peace, fam. I'm out.